it benefits him just to have that link up play. I think the more you link up with Enzo, the better he gets, or the better he looks on the pitch. When he's like your sole focus, then he kind of gets smothered by the opposition teams, which you've seen all the time. Like we see multiple games where as soon as Enzo gets the ball, 2, 3 players are on him already, dispossessing him. Like it's happened because other teams have, caught on to that he can be a creative catalyst for us. I think it happened. What game was it? What game am I thinking of that was like a prime example of that happening? That doesn't matter. But like Ahmed was saying, I think this system does benefit him in that sense, and why we've seen such better numbers for him.
But then, if we say
having
that
Lavia
about,
and all that stuff too also helps. But
if we say that it's benefit Enzo, and essentially it's allowed him to not be seen as much because you're putting all that spark onto another guy, who's basically called Palmer. Then do you not think it's fair to say then it's Palmer? If you just go by that logic, then.
So
because like I know a lot of the time you see online that a lot of people have talked about how the system is playing a part into why Palmer's playing poorly. Even though my own thoughts are, I think it's a lot more to do with a mental thing with him, where I think he's just overcomplicating the process and such. But if we go by that logic, right, that you're saying, then I do think there is some level of validity in us saying that Palmer kind of has been, because Prime has been made to be the shining light. So right, he's essentially allowed Enzo to be like a shadow, essentially, right?
In a sense, I think 2 things can be right about Palmer if we want to take this discussion on Palmer.
Yeah.
It's so I'll admit, on my way home, I was watching an analysis on Chelsea from The Athletic, right?
Okay.
And there was a bit of a breakdown on where most of Palmer's goals happened this season versus other goals. And only 2 goals came from positions where the opposition was organized. Every other goal was very much counterattack-esque, where the defense is not lined up, they're not organized, they're scattering to get back into position, that kind of stuff, where last season Palmer thrived on that. Our team thrived in terms of goals from counterattacks. And as a result of the counterattacks, we conceded the most amount of goals we've ever conceded in Chelsea's history under Poch. So in the beginning of the season, I feel like there was a lot of that adaptation period of Maresca ball where, there was still, we remember in the postseason, Ancelotti coming up to Enzo Maresca and saying to him, here, a word of advice is, keep push back your high line. Your defenders are way too high up the pitch. It's not helping you. And Maresca came out and said, these are some bad habits from the previous manager. And so I think to an extent, the system is hurting Palmer because we don't want to play basketball football. Maresca doesn't want to do that. Maresca doesn't want to play these counterattacking plays. I feel like, my personal opinion, I feel like you can have a balance where you can have some counterattacking football. Like if there is a position where you can have a counterattack and Jackson is clear, give Jackson the damn ball. Don't just waste that opportunity. I think you can make it the most out of some of these opportunities while still maintaining your system. You don't have to, just because you give up to one counterattack doesn't mean you have to forfeit the whole entire system. But Maresca doesn't want to play that way. So in a sense, it does the slow football, the building up and the passing along. It gives the opposition team a chance to organize, which hasn't really helped Palmer. But on the other hand, we create a lot of chances. And Palmer's confidence has been deteriorating for the last 4 months. So to an extent, I also think Palmer has to do with it as well, because Palmer has had chances to score and he just hasn't scored. He was given a penalty and he missed a penalty. These factors do play into the whole reason why Palmer's been playing the way he's been playing. I think it's 2 things. I think it is the system to an extent that has been smothering him and not really getting the most out of him. And not just him. I think most of our attackers, to be honest. I think Nicholas Jackson thrives more from a counterattacking style of football or a style of attack. I think Palmer benefits a lot more from a counterattacking style of attack. I think Neto is the prime. I think, to be honest, in my personal opinion, I think Neto has been the biggest culprit of this system. Because Neto at Wolves, bro, most of his goals, the ones that I can remember, are from counterattacks.
But do you know what
He
it is,
was
though,
that
Marshall?
guy.
I mean, to be fair, Marshall,
no.
you don't
The
really have a lot to remember. He scored 4 goals.
The problem with Neto, I would actually.
You think I'm
make the
joking,
argument.
or not?
I know you're not. But you're right. You're right.
The problem I think, I'm gonna come back to the power point there because I think I agree with it, by the way. So there's nothing to disagree on that aspect. But I think the problem with the Neto issue is that fundamentally, it's a profiling issue, in my personal opinion, right? We did not buy a technical winger, who's good on the ball, that can hold the ball, and then can take on his man. We bought a guy that's a bit more of a pace and power guy, right? If you look at both Madueke and you look at Neto, the difference is, yes, man, like around and his touch might be a bit awful, but in general, technically speaking, he's a sound player, right? He's sound and he's got skill moves that go past his player in general, right?
He's super aggressive in his dribbling ability.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
The thing about Neto is you see it all the time, bro. Yeah, his thing is his ability with pace, and then he uses the feint a lot of the time. You see the way he feints one time and then tries to go back again with another vertical acceleration. The problem that we have here is that when you have a guy like that, you have to be passing the ball into him whilst he's in motion. We don't do that often with him, bro. We don't do that pass. That's one thing, I do criticize, and Enzo for sometimes. Yeah, maybe a Caicedo at times, Why are we not passing to Neto in motion?
I think the problem goes back to Maresca. I think it's a Maresca problem.
I agree. That's something. That's why you have to then look at Maresca.
He doesn't want to do the counterattacking.
You have to find a way to get the ball in motion to play. Like for me, you're seeing it this season, bro. He's not providing you anything. You can see where the issue is. Why? This is what I look at myself. I'm like, you have to improve it there. I think the Palmer point, my thing about Palmer is if you're seeing the issue that is causing your own player, and you're seeing yes, you're getting a benefit of Enzo playing well, right? But then the main guy of the team is being hurt because of it, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like, for me, why don't you try to tweak the system to then maybe allow Palmer to at least be a bit more, how shall I say, less affected by that? Because for me, it's not, you're not helping out Palmer, but you're helping out another player, if that makes sense, right?
Sorry, I disagree. I'm sorry. When you're missing gilt edge chances, that's
no. I'm talking. Listen, we agree about that already, CP. I'm mentioning
I think it's both things, CP.
Yeah, we agree that's both things. We talk about the formation thing though, because like the argument, I don't know if you were listening to the conversation we were having, CP, right? We were making the point that if the system is basically allowing guys like Palmer to Enzo to flourish because he's got a less of a spotlight on him, because as a team, the team is creating a spotlight on the main man, as in Palmer, right? Then, that is not going to help out Palmer if he's, for example, if there's too many guys on him. I believe you. And it's not,
but I'm sorry, but that's with all-star players. I'm sorry, Bukayo Saka's been doing this for years. I'm sorry, this is you got your breakout season, right? This is why some people call the phenomenons like this one season wonders. I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying this is what Hazard had to deal with. This is what Bukayo Saka deals with when he's on the right. People are double teaming. Well, that's what all the Yamal deals with. This all the best players are going to deal with being double teamed or triple teamed.
Let me ask you this, CP, though, because I think most of us agreed to an extent that Cole Palmer was going to have a tougher season this season. Like, if you listen to punditry and stuff, like when they were predicting how Cole Palmer was going to perform this season, I think most of them predicted that he was going to have a bit of a tougher season, probably not reach the same heights that he reached last season, simply because of now the league is aware of your presence. They're going to double up on you. They're going to, foul you more often and all this stuff. CP, let me ask you this. Do you think that this is just, do you think this is a dip in form, and do you think this is like a learning lesson in terms of the season for Palmer?
Well, that's what I'm hoping for.
He'll come back stronger.
That's what I'm hoping for.
What does your heart say?
Be honest, man. Honestly,
I honestly think I honestly think he's done for this season.
For this
No,
season, I
Done for
agree.
the season. He needs a reset, and I hope that pray to God that reset happens, because he's on 13 goals, I think, in the league. I can name you
Yes.
2 goals he could have scored in
Yeah.
Southampton, a penalty that's 16. He scored 22 last season. He's actually missed enough chances in the 4 months where he could have equaled that amount. So in terms of output, he could have equaled that goal output with less penalties. So it actually would have been more non-penalty goals.
Mm-hmm.
He had chances, at least output-wise.
What do the rest
Which
of you
we
guys
need.
think in terms of Palmer, though? Do you think this is just a learning season for him to be more adaptable, more malleable in systems that are maybe more rigid, and maybe to figure out a little bit more how to play your game while also being double man marked and pressed and all this? Because, let's also be honest, he's still young, he's still learning. Obviously, he's not like a wonder kid like we all thought he was, like a Lamine Yamal. Well, I don't think anyone was calling him a Lamine Yamal, but just to give you an example,
You were calling me out, Marshall.
I was not.
You were.
I was
I've got the clips.
share, please.
End of the season.
Share.
End of the season, we'll be clipping them.
We do have a receipt stream at the end of the season, depending on how the season
Dossier is
ends.
loading. I've got a dossier on you, mate. I'm telling you.
Okay, but what do you guys think in terms of Cole?
No, I think, listen, you want to hope next season he gets back to his best, right? But right now, the game's gone. Essentially, right? It's over for him for this season. Yeah, but
Is this a learning lesson season, or is this just
you have to hope
he's
it
going to
is,
struggle
bro.
as long as Maresca's here?
You have to hope it is, bro. I think for me, if this continues next season and he's still playing in the same formation, in the same role, you then have to start looking at is it now a tactical
Is it a
issue?
colour thing?
Just,
You
know what I mean? Well, if it's a color thing, then
sorry, it's just because you said is it, bro. I can't lie. I just default to that.
I was trying to spell this. I was trying to make. Okay, wait a second, right?
But no, I think the thing with Palmer is it's not necessarily the goals and assists that affect me. Like the goals are an issue, 100%, but
Sure.
it's because someone I think commented saying that he's only 2 goals off Saka's best ever goal scoring season. He might be, but I think the thing with Saka for Arsenal is it's not his goals and assists. It's that capability of putting the team on your back in a tough moment and dragging you through. He hasn't done that. It feels like there are some games in this, basically since he's had this bit of form, it feels like there are games that bypass him entirely. Like the
last game. Yeah.
Like the Everton game. Yeah, he's the worst player on the pitch.
Yeah.
And so I'm fine if you don't get the goals and assists all the time. It's not always going to happen, right? Obviously, you don't want him to have as barren a run as he's having, but you've got to be able just to give Kai and like whatever and the people that want to go back to Enzo. What Enzo's done the second half of the season, he hasn't always assisted or got goals, but there have been games the second half of the season or like
the game,
where he is at times like that Villa game, for example. I know we lost the game. I'll always go back to that. He was the only player that turned up. He's the only player that gave a shit and turned up and tried to drag us through that game. I don't remember Palmer doing that in a game since this bad run of form started. Like being like the player that's like, I'm going to drag us through this game. I don't remember him being that.
Yeah, and that was what he was.
I might be wrong.
Season, or the majority
I'm happy
of the season.
if someone can remind me of a game. I'm happy to be wrong.
You're
don't
right.
remember.
I think the last game I can remember that was probably the Brighton game in the beginning of the season, where he scored 4 goals. Like that's the only game I can think of right now off the top of my head where he was like, I'm gonna take care of this game, and it's just, I really hope, and I do think, because I think Palmer is a very talented player. I don't think he's a one season wonder. I do think that this is an adaptation period for him, because let's also be honest, prior to Chelsea he was playing at Man City from time to time off the bench, right? A Man City team that's a lot more drilled, a lot more well-established, a lot more has a lot more structure than at Chelsea. Comes to Chelsea and now gets first team minutes for the first time in his career. He's learning on the job as well. I do feel that next season we will see an improvement on Palmer. There will be more consistency. Whether he plays a 10 or the right wing, I don't think the positioning is so much of an issue. I think it's the confidence as well as getting used to the structure and how to, how do I score goals when it's not chaotic? How do I score goals when the other team I'm playing has a good setup as well? These are, obstacles that the best players in the world know how to get through. You look at the Lamine Yamals in the world. That is an interside that is drilled defensively. Very, very strong defense. And for Lamine Yamal to have the moment that he had to open up that scoreboard, most teams, most players at that age, they put their heads down. Damn, we're 2-0 down. Like, we're losing this game. We're not doing well. He picks his head up, makes a chance out of nothing, and then scores. And that comes with confidence. That comes with, drilling and doing it over and over, which he's been playing a lot of football at a professional level. I think he's actually played more. He might have. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Lamine Yamal has played more professional football at the senior level than Cole Palmer has.
No.
Or there might be equal amounts.
Game.
No, he hasn't.
No.
No, he hasn't.
No.
Okay.
Could be actually. You're.
It might be.
No,
There might be like tit for tat
because
around
the
the
problem
same
is,
amount of games.
the problem is, Lamine Yamal only started playing regular football last season, right? He wasn't. And Cole Palmer, even though yes, he was at Man City and getting scarce minutes, he was playing some level
Okay.
of professionality. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm just having a look, seeing how close it is.
Because I would even say like it might balance out as well with at the international level, because Palmer wasn't really used as a starter at the international level.
No, your Yamal's more. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's also experience, like we saw the Euros, like everything was a system, everything was a structure and a rigidness, like that when you're exposed to that and you have experience to that, you start to learn how to play around it. You start to learn how to adapt your game to benefit. I think this season has to be a season where Cole Palmer needs to learn how to play when you have two men on you. Pause. Has to learn how to play when you are up against more well-structured or well-positioned defenders.
Across the last 2 seasons, Palmer has played 1 more minute.
Yeah, so they're just about there, So and last season, I think Yamal probably had a not as chaotic team, like a counter. I don't think Yamal played in a counter-attacking team. I don't think Xavi was.
No, it was still Hansi Flick last season, wasn't it? No, was it Hansi Flick or was it Xavi last season?
No, last season was Xavi. And
oh yeah, definitely wasn't counter-attacking then.
Hansi. Yeah, so like when we're in counter-attacking football, and now you're playing for your first season, you're up against more rigid football, and you're slower on the build-up, and now you have to go up against, well-positioned sides. I can cook eggs. It's just a different learning curve.
Huh?
I can cook eggs.
I was about to get scared for a second. I was like, yeah, man, that's the basics, man.
No, it is. It really is basics. So I think Club World Cup is going to be a big test. And if we do get Champions League, we need Palmer to learn already. Like, bro, you need to have figured this out, because when we're up against Champions League teams, if we do get Champions League, then, bro, you're not going to have too many chances like you have in the Premier League or in Conference League to score goals in chaotic moments. You need to learn how to make your own chances or break down the structure.